for
This
next 30
conference will
minutes.
now be recorded.
Okay, we'll discuss about the service called Route 53. Okay, and also we'll see how the DNS works in AWS platform. Okay, so Route 53 is mainly a DNS service. Okay, where you will have just a second. Yeah, just add a separate tab here. Okay, around Route 53. So DNS port number is actually 453. Okay, so that is the reason AWS has used this port number as the service name. Okay, Route 53. Route 53 is a distributed DNS service, and using which you can go and purchase a domain as well as you can manage a DNS service. Okay, so here first, like before we go and use the DNS service, we need to understand the domain name. So there are different domains actually. So there is an internet domain and the intranet domain. So internet domain can be accessed from the internet. Okay, that's the reason why this is called internet domain, or it is also called public facing domain or public domain. Okay, so for example, you will whatever the domain names that we see like .com, .edu, .org. So these are all domains which are all public facing. Okay, there will be .co.in and all those things. So these domains we can go and purchase it. And there are two organizations overall, like one is ICANN, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, and there is an organization called IANA, Internet Assigned Naming Authority, Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. So these are the two organizations which takes care of all the public domain names and issuing that. Okay, so these are all like .com, .edu, .org, .net. All these are registered top level domains. They call it as registered top level domains. And if you want to get all these domain, then there is an organization called domain registrar who actually distributes the domain across the globe. So for example, GoDaddy or Hostinger. So these are all some examples of domain registrar who will allocate the name, or who will allow us to purchase the name. So when you go and create DNS zone in AWS, okay, we have to use the Route 53 service to go and create a DNS zone for our purpose. Okay, you can go and create a public or internet facing DNS zone, or else you can also go and create a domain name which is private actually. Okay, and when you go and create a DNS from the domain registrar, there is an organization called Internic. Okay, global international network information center. NIC stands for Network Information Center. So this organization actually maintains the details of who owns that particular domain and zone. Okay, if you just go to the AWS portal, currently you can see that there is an option for DNS management. So for Route 53, primary purpose is for managing the DNS. So you have to go and host a zone in order to manage the DNS. So before we go and do a hosted zone, we have to go and purchase a domain name. So there are many online sites which provides you the domain. Okay, so example, these kind of Freenom is a kind of portal where you can go and purchase domain for free also. Okay, you can just log in with your Gmail ID, or you can create a free account, and you can go and purchase domains from this site. Okay, so if I go to services, it provides you to register a new domain. You can go and find the list of domains, and you can also transfer the existing domain from other providers like GoDaddy or BigDaddy, or from other sites actually. So here I'll just go and register a new domain. Okay, so this is where you can go and purchase a free domain, and you can use it for hosting on the internet also. For example, if I want to say AWS and Stan, I can just go and check what are the different domains that are available. Okay, now it will give me the listing of domains which are available for free. So on the top, you can see these domains are available for free, whereas the domains which are listed below, you have to go and pay some $8 or $6 based on the location that you want. If you are running it in Europe, like the cost is very less, and if you are purchasing it for commercial purpose, you have to pay for this particular thing. So there are some free options that you have. So I'll go and show you how to purchase the free domain. For example, AWS and Stan. I'll just say CF. Okay, and I'll get this now. Okay, it is checking for availability. If it is available, it will say selected, and you can also purchase more than one domain at the same time. So I can just go and select multiple domains at the same time, and I can go and check out the purchase. Okay, so by doing this, you can purchase a internet facing domain. Okay, so I can just use it for maybe a 12 months period also. Okay, I can also go and add additional A record, or I can also manage DNS here, but I don't want to do it now. Okay, here you get the option to go and extend it for 12 months. You can use these domains free for 12 months actually, without paying anything. You don't have to give any credit card, or you don't have to do anything. So you can just directly use it for free for 12 months. Okay, let me continue. Just a second. I think I selected some new options here. So this procedure is called domain name registration procedure. So I'm just going to do it again because the screen was hung. I'll go and register a new domain. So Freenom is a global organization where they have headquarters in Amsterdam. This is a European-based company which provides you domains for free. There are other sites also which provides you free domain, but Freenom is very popular as it provides name for everyone. So I'll go and select these two. I'll go and check out now. So here I'll just continue. Okay, it'll take a minute or two. Okay, I'm able to get this free for $0. Okay, so I'm just doing the domain registration now. So if I do the domain registration, what it will happen, it will inform the domain registrar that this particular company or this particular person has purchased that domain. Okay, you can also go and verify that in ICANN lookup. Okay, so ICANN is a global organization lookup site. Here you can go and look into the ICANN Internet Corporation for assign name and numbers. Here you can go and check out who is using a particular domain, and also there are many other sites. There are many other domain lookup site. For example, whois is one of the database. On the back end, whois is the database that is used for storing all the domain, who purchased it, and who owns the domain, and so on. You can just go and use this site to check out. For example, if I want to check out skill up with stand.online, it will give me who purchased that domain. Okay, you can see that this particular domain is purchased by someone in Tamil Nadu, and then you can also get some more details on who owns it and what is their number and so on. Okay, so that this is the way, like, you can go and search out who purchased the domain and from whom they purchased it, and I purchased it through hosting it actually. Okay, so now after I have purchased the domain, I can go and get the domain configured in my Route 53. So here I can just go and create a hosted zone, and I can use it for DNS resolution. Okay, so let me create a hosted zone here. So here I can use the name that I have purchased. Okay, AWS and stand dot. Go and find out. I think I selected CF. Okay, AWS and stand.cf. So you can purchase many domain. I have got around 10 plus domains already here. Okay, you can purchase as many free domains as you want. Okay, AWS and stand.cf. And I can just give some description. This is used for hosting AWS websites in AWS for Stan. Okay, there are two options. You can go and create whether this particular DNS should be exposed to internet, or if you want to have it for internal purpose. So if you want to have it for internet, then you can create a public hosted zone. Or if I want to create it for internal usage, I can just call it as private hosted zone. So this zone is going to contain all the records related to that particular domain. So there are two types, public hosted zone and private hosted zone. Public hosted zone is routed on the internet, whereas private hosted zone is on the intranet, okay, within your Amazon VPC. Okay, there are two type of hosted zones. Okay, I want to create a zone which is public facing. So if I want to restrict it for private facing, then select private actually, or I'm just going to create a public one now, create the hosted zone. So once after I created a hosted zone, so this is a kind of DNS is a database. Okay, so where you will go and store all the system related information, application related information, and so on. So DNS is a globally distributed service that translates human readable names to IP addresses. Okay, for example, you can compare DNS with your phone book. See, earlier when we are in 10, 15 years back, most of the home you will see some dictionary or like kind of phone book where you will go and search for a particular name, and that name will have corresponding phone numbers. The reason is we cannot memorize phone numbers. So phone numbers are like we can memorize names actually. So if I go and search by a name and address, you will get the specific person phone number. Similarly, here DNS is a service which translates human readable host name to IP address. See, host name, if I call server1.stand.com, this is easily rememberable. Okay, whereas IP address 10.20.45.200, you cannot remember it for long, but you can remember server1.stand.com very easily. So any user friendly name to IP address conversion or translation will be done using DNS service. So DNS is a service which helps you to translate the human readable name to a numeric IP address. Okay, that is your computer address or device address or any specific IT equipment number. Okay, so DNS server translates the request for a particular name to a IP address. See, if you are going and typing www.stand.com, it will redirect to maybe server1.stand.com, and on the back end that is actually corresponding to a particular IP address. It might be like 10.0.0.20 or whatever, right? So this is the primary job of DNS. DNS will help you to convert or translate the request to a particular backend system. So what kind of record you can go and create it in DNS? There are many records that you can create, but most popular records are A record and PTR record. So A record is used for storing the host name and its corresponding IP address. Similarly, PTR record, pointer record, will actually have the details of IP address and its associated host name or fully qualified domain name. So here, if you look at the details, okay, see, for example, when I say pointer, so you will have a lot of IP address, right? 10.0.0.1, 10.0.0.2. So here the pointer is nothing but the actual difference is the pointer. The actual number which is different from each other is the pointer. Okay, so the pointer record will have details about 10.0.0.3, and that belongs to, for example, server 1 or server 2 or server 3. So it will have the corresponding details. Okay, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, how to create and how to use the translation and how to check this. Okay, now before getting into the practical, okay, so there are many other record like txt record to verify the domain name. Okay, we have service locator records which have all the service related information. Okay, it will give you where exactly the services are located, like LDAP or Active Directory or any other specific services. It will tell you which server is hosting that service. Similarly, we have got, when you go and create DNS in any system, Windows or Linux or cloud, there will be two default record. Okay, one is the name server record, NS record, and there is one more record called Start of Authority record, SOA. Okay, these records are default records in every zone, either it is on-premises DNS or cloud DNS. These two records gets created by default. Name server is nothing but your list of DNS server. Start of authority is nothing but your first server, which is created for a particular zone or a particular environment. So there are few more other records like mail exchanger record and other records, okay, which gets created in your DNS. And there are also some DNS security records like DNS sec and all those things. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, let's go and create few sample records. So there is two other important records that we generally come across in the cloud, alias record and CNAME record. So these two are pretty much similar. For example, if I want to call a particular system like ssh.stan.com instead of exposing the actual name. For example, instead of exposing web server 1.stan.com to internet, I can have an alias name or an alternate name created for my domain name. So there are two ways you can create the alternate name, either by using the CNAME or you can also use the alias record to create the alternate name record. Okay, the main difference between these two records, the alias record can be used for creating an entry against a particular AWS service. For example, if I'm just saying sss.stan.com, you can point that to a load balancer FQDN or fully qualified domain name, or you can directly forward it to a server fully qualified domain name. You can directly connect to a AWS service. That's what I mean here. Okay, here, but with the CNAME record, you have a fully qualified domain name which corresponds to another fully qualified domain name. I'll just give an example in live. So in alias record, you can forward a FQDN to a direct AWS service. Okay, that's the big advantage. You don't have to expose the actual name of the AWS service, but you can directly point out to a AWS service. But CNAME, the canonical name record, it mainly forwards the uh, record like this. Okay, this is the example of canonical name. You have a FQDN like sss.stan.com, which is an alternate name for web server 1stan.com. Here with sss.stan.com, you can directly forward the request to a particular load balancer or an auto scaling group or whatever. Okay, so that option is here. So I'll just go and show you a demo here. So before you go and do create other record, you can see that by default, you can see that there are two records that are created for every zone. These records are created by the system by default, the name server record and the start of authority record. So these are the four DNS server that Amazon has provided for the zone you have created. For AWS and stan.cf, they have given these four DNS server, which has the zone actually. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just make a note of this name server records, and by default, if I go and check for DNS queries, okay, for example, let me log into one of my system. Okay, here, if I go to my command prompt, okay, if I just say ns lookup, name server lookup, ns lookup is a command to check the DNS database, and I can connect to a fast DNS server like Google name server or a specific fast DNS server. If I want to connect to that, then I can connect to it. So now here I want to check AWS and stan.com. Okay, if I just type this AWS and stan.com, maybe cf, okay, it says there is an answer coming from non-authoritative server. Okay, so this particular server is having my zone currently, or this is the start of authority or name server for my domain which I've recently purchased. And if I want to query a particular type of record, I can just say set type is equal to ns record or name server record, and I can just go and type the same domain name. It will give me the list of namespace server for my domain. Okay, so this is the primary namespace server. So now I don't want the freenom to maintain my DNS. I want all the DNS request to be forwarded to AWS instead of freenom. So how do I do that? So I have to forward the DNS queries to AWS. So here in the freenom console, currently any request coming to AWS and stan.cf, it is being answered by freenom. So I don't want freenom to answer it. Instead, I want those requests to be forwarded to a particular namespace server. Here I can just go and say use custom namespace server, and I can enter the AWS namespace server there. Okay, now any request coming to that particular AWS and stan.cf, instead of freenom answering it, it will forward the request to the AWS namespace server, and AWS namespace server will answer the queries. Okay, I've entered all the namespace server. You have to click on change servers. There will be a message on the top saying change is saved successfully. You have to wait for that. Okay, once after the changes were saved successfully, now you can go and check the NS lookup. Now it should actually go and point out to AWS instead of freenom. So now I'm just going to say set type is equal to NS. I'm just going to check the same AWS and stand.cf. Now you can see that my requests are being forwarded to the AWS namespace server. So instead of freenom answering the queries, now the queries will be answered by AWS native DNS servers. So now the requests are being forwarded. So this is how you can quickly check which namespace server are answering my questions if I'm typing AWS and stand.cf. So for example, I'm just going to create a record here in AWS platform. I'll just go and create one record. So I'll call this record as maybe server one dot AWS dot stand dot cf. So whenever I call this, my request should go to this IP address. Okay, this is what the DNS hosted zone will contain. Okay, it will have a host name associated with an IP address associated with the FQDN. So you can go and create different records like this: service locator, SPF record, text record to verify the domain, mail record, MX record for mail server record, pointer for mapping IP address to name. So these are the records that we have. So one A is for the IP version 4. If you're already using IP version 6, you can use 4A here. Okay, you can select that record. Now I've created a record. Okay, and if I want an alternate name for server1.aws and .cf, I can just go and create a record here. I can go and say I want to create a canonical name, alternate name. So I'll just say www.aws or like you can do anything. Okay, SSS. This is just a user-friendly name. What I'm going to do is if I type sss.aws.cf, it should go to server1.aws and stand.cf. So that is how I'm just forwarding the record now. So let's see. Let me double check whether I'm okay. Yeah, this request will go to server one. Okay. So now I'll get the same answer even if I give this name. If I give this name, it will open up a web page. Okay, it will give welcome to Advantage Pro Apache Web Server session with Stan. Even if I go and say the sss.aws.stand.cf, it will give the same answer because I've created a canonical name, alternate name. So how do I verify this if it doesn't work? Okay, if I go to the NS lookup, I can go and check for that record. If I just say set type is equal to maybe CNAME, canonical name, this will give me what kind of canonical name I have configured, what kind of alternate name I have configured. So if I just go and say sss.aws and stand.cf, it will say my canonical name is for this particular server. Okay, so even if you just say set type is equal to a record, if I go and say server one dot stand dot AWS and stand.cf, it will give me the exact IP address of the AWS server which I have hosted the service. Okay, this IP address. Okay, this is how you can verify whether your requests are going to the right server and whether the records are properly created in your global DNS database. Okay, so Route 53 is a service which helps you to call out the services using user-friendly names like your host name or your FQDN, fully qualified domain name, or whatever alternate name you want to. Okay, for example, if I have created a load balancer or an auto scaling group, when I go and create a Route 53 record, I have an option to go and select this alias option, and automatically you can go and choose a particular endpoint. It can be a load balancer, or it can be a CloudFront, or it can be an Elastic Beanstalk environment, or it can be a S3 website endpoint. So you can directly map the direct AWS service. So by doing this, you can hide the names or you can hide the IP address getting exposed to the global internet. Okay, so you can directly do a mapping of your name to a particular backend endpoint. It can be a load balancer, or it can be a S3 website, or it can be any services on this list. Okay, so alias record is a very good safe record through which you can restrict the name being exposed to the global internet. Okay, so Route 53 helps you to route the end user traffic to a particular application by giving them the user friendly names. So how did we start with that? We went ahead and purchased a free domain from free norm, you can also purchase it from Amazon or GoDaddy. So here, if I go to Route 53, Route 53 is not just for DNS management. Even they can give you domain registration also. Even here, you can go and register the domain, but only thing is they will not give you free domain. Okay, you have to go and purchase the domain, which is registered top level domain. See, if you look at here, they are giving you only registered top level domains. There is no free domain option here. Everything is chargeable from Amazon. So you can also purchase the domain from Amazon, GoDaddy, Square Brothers, and a lot of other sites, but they provide you only registered top level domains like .com, .org, .edu, .net, and so on. But if you are going to sites like Freenom, you can also go and purchase domains which are free of charge. Okay, once after you create the domain, you can go and create a hosted zone in AWS Route 53. So here in AWS Route 53, you have option to create up to 500 zones or close to that, and you can manage multiple zones here. Okay, and so there are two type of zones, right? As I told you, if I go and create a this is public zone, which is internet facing. If I want to use DNS within my AWS environment or within my VPC or within my company corporate environment, I can go and create a zone which is private in nature. So I can go and select private hosted zone, and I can create a similar thing. Okay, so by doing that, you will be able to create a zone which can be used internal to your organization. Okay, so whatever I'm name resolution I'm doing it from a different system in a different location. Okay, so from here also I'm able to access it. So even if I go and say sss.aws.stand.com in this particular server, which is on Azure, you'll get the same result. Okay, so this is a global service. So you can see it says welcome to our Advantage Pro Apache server session with Stan. Okay, so this is how you can go and purchase a domain. You can create some records to have user-friendly name for your website and user-friendly name for your EC2 instances. And you can also have two type of zones, one for your public facing, internet facing, and another zone for intranet, which is private facing. So you can also go and transfer the purchase domain from from Freenom to AWS, or you can do all those things. Okay, so once after you're done with the practical, you can just go and delete the zone. But before deleting the zone, you have to clean up all the record that you have created. See, if I go and select delete, it will not allow me. The reason is there are some data within the hosted zone. Okay, so let me just try to say delete and then see what happens. Okay, it says that there are some records which are created by us, and we need to create those records before we go and clean up. So I have to go and delete these two records which I have created, and then after deleting it, it will allow me to go and delete the entire hosted zone. Okay, I can just go one step back, and now I will be able to delete it. Okay, this is how you can go and purchase the internet domain for free, and you can practice the website accessing using some user-friendly names, or you can use it for connecting a load balancer with a different name or a different FQDN. Okay, so any questions on this Route 53? Okay, so this is how we reliably way. I mean, this is the reliable way to route the users to your internet application or internet facing application hosted on AWS platform. Okay, so practice this also when you get some time so that you can get familiar with how to deal with the domain names and hosted zone. Okay, I'll stop the recording.